life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the weekend. I feel better on the weekend. Give my life a better meaning. Let me stay where I'm in phase. I feel better on the weekend. Lose control, get away. Lose control, no one ever may. Lose control, get away. I feel better on the
Hello, hello, hello. Excuse me. Welcome. Ah, when you don't do this all the time, you kind of scramble at the last minute. So I'm just trying to get everything situated here real quick as we kind of start this. But welcome if you're joining for the first time. If you don't know, excuse me, my name is John Good, and you're watching my channel. So hopefully you do know that, but you do know now if you didn't know already. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Got all that ready. All these different screens, so it's always a challenge here. But while I'm going through this, definitely let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if it's loud and clear. I'm watching the chat on YouTube. That's where we're streaming, of course. So let me know if you can hear me okay. Looks like everything is going well. I tested it, and it should be coming through clearly, but just let me know. And while I'm kind of going through all this stuff, getting everything situated and set up, if you haven't seen the show before, this is called Cyber Hour. And the whole purpose of this show is to hop on here for about an hour, hang out, talk about cybersecurity related stuff. So career advice, mentorship, really pretty much anything going on, answer your questions, and just give you a chance to get answers. Sometimes getting answers, asking questions, things like that, there's a huge turnaround. And so the purpose is just to really get you those answers much quicker. Also, too, one of the nice things that we can do here is, and I'll share the link here in a minute or two, but we also will do resume reviews on here. So if you have your resume and you want to have that reviewed by me, we'll do it live on air. You can black out anything that you don't want shown or remove it. And we'll just go through and I'll give you feedback on what I think about your resume, if it's good, if it's bad, what you can do to improve it, those kind of things. So you get actual feedback, which is amazing. And if you haven't seen the video that I put up on resumes, I did a resume video where I just literally went through my own resume and said why I do the certain things that I do, what employers are looking for, basically how you can make the perfect resume. With that resume that I did in the video, I actually have over a 90% callback rate for interviews, which is just phenomenal. Didn't start that way, but certainly has kind of evolved that way as I've learned the things that work and the things that don't work. So great opportunity for that. Let's see here. Give me a minute here to kind of, now that I've done my kind of introduction, take a second here to kind of get everything situated. Let's see here. So let's put the chat up. Let's see, chat. Let's bring that up. Cool. Okay, so the chat's up there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to do here. Again, since I don't stream every day, you know, it's definitely a relearning process for some of the things on a constant basis when I get back on here to do this. So different software, different features, different settings, all those kind of things. So yeah. Oh, I can do the chat that way as well. Let's try this. Okay. Let's hide that. And it should work. Cool. Yeah, so the last time that I was doing this with the chat on the screen versus in the software, it wasn't working. So I have fixed that. So I am super excited about that. Should have worked last time, but software and things like that. So whatever. So I'm curious where you're joining the show from. Let me know in the chat. Are you in the United States? Are you somewhere else? Where in the world are you at? What time is it? For some people, it's going to be early in the morning. For me, it is after work, so it's towards the end of the day. And I am on basically the west coast of the United States. So even in the United States, there's people that are going to be kind of winding down their evening at this point. So, but glad to have anybody, wherever you're calling in from or wherever you're joining in from. So, welcome, Matthias. Matthias says, I came here being told it was going to be John Goodman. Definitely not John Goodman. You also promised punch and pie. Also not something I promised. So I'm curious who promised you that. Was not me. So let's see. Let me put my do not disturb here on as well for about an hour, because that's how long we do this for. Let's see here. Saza is from Australia, and it looks like I'm going to have to darken the background on that chat a little bit too, because of the whole background I have going here. So I will do that for, try to remember that for next time. Let's see here. All right, so we got that going. Let's see. All right. Let me get the link here. Okay. Let's pin that. Okay. So, like I said, if you want to join the show, then the link is in the chat. You can check that out, and you can join that. If you just want to hang out on here and ask questions in the chat, you can do that as well. Also, if you want to actually bring up your resume, you can go to that link, join the show, and then you can actually bring it up and we can look at it. The other way you can do it is, and I put this in the description of this show, if you go to the Discord server, there is a section for resume feedback requests. So if you want to submit your resume ahead of time when we've announced the show, or you want to submit it now and let me know, then you can submit it in there as well. I'll pull it up on the screen. We'll take a look. Again, if you remove things that you don't want to just have shown on the internet, it's probably a good idea. But and also too, while I'm thinking about that, let me go ahead and just look and see if we have any in there. But I've created a way for you to go ahead and upload your resume so I can give you feedback. Some people don't want to call into the show, and that's totally fine. I want to accommodate everybody that I can. And so I've created a way that you can go ahead and submit that. Let's see here. All right. So we do not currently have any in there. So we will hold off on that for now. And let's see here. Baby Boss says, is this live? Yes, this is live. So now there is a slight delay between when I say things and when I see things on the screen and kind of how all of that works together because of how YouTube streams it out, and they have to send it through their servers and whatever else they do, send it across the globe. but this is live. So yes, yes, to answer your question, it is live. Let's see here. So Matthias, just to kind of go back to your question, yeah, it's probably about a 5 second delay. I mean, that's probably about right. Um, just getting good quality and pushing it out definitely just requires more resources for the servers to kind of process it and push it out. But it's basically live. Like if you want to tell me it's not live because it's like a couple seconds delayed, well, most of your TV is probably not live then. So, but yeah, it's live. So Matthias, going back to your question though, Kaspersky, I mean, there's always so much controversy around Kaspersky. Let's be honest. They've been in the spotlight for so long. Every so often, they pop back up because they've done something, they've formed some kind of relationship, they've created some kind of software. There's always just, things that are going on. And there's a lot of companies that are kind of like that. Kaspersky just happens to be a big one. And that's kind of one of the things you have to be careful with just in general with software in your organization, right? Since we're mainly cybersecurity professionals, IT professionals, things like that. But you've got to be careful with what you put into your environment. That's why you do thorough vetting. That's why you have supply chain risk management activities that you do. That's why you monitor your vendors. It's why you make sure you have contracts in place that only allow specific things. Because if you don't, if you just say, I'm going to put whatever software I want onto my network, and again, also too, just let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear. I just want to make sure the audio is good here. But if you just put whatever you want onto your network without any kind of vetting or thorough background process, risk management process, patching, all those kind of things, then you're going to end up basically with just a ton of issues. You're going to end up with not only malicious people, actors that hack that software that are able to get into your network. You're going to end up with companies that are state sponsored, that are run by specific governments, and they are going to take your data and they're going to do things with it, right? They're going to put it into their algorithms and their AI bots and their LLMs, and they're just going to go through and they're gonna catalog that information and maybe use it against you. Maybe try to get into customers that aren't as concerned with it. And there's just all kinds of issues, right? So you have to be very careful with the software. In like the United States, Kaspersky is basically one of those ones that is more or less blacklisted, and the U.S. government has really honed in on that and said, do not use Kaspersky, do not get their software. You still obviously could see end users or regular consumers, regular people using Kaspersky software or products, and it's dangerous, right? And you may not personally be somebody who is like, dramatically affected by that, where they're not going to come after, you individually. Let's say like Russia, right? Just use that as an example. They're not going to come after you specifically, but maybe they're trying to gather a bunch of information on a bunch of people, and you just happen to be one of those people. So I'm not going to go into that kind of stuff on this show because there's a lot of other outlets that are talking about those kind of things. There's a lot of documentaries and just information out there that you should be aware of or be concerned with. But yeah, you just have to be careful, especially not only on the enterprise side, but also on the personal side as well. Cool. Thanks for letting me know that the audio is coming in clear. So great to hear. And then also too, just another thing, if you're watching the show and you have questions as we're talking through this stuff, because remember, we're only going to do this for about an hour. But if you have questions that you want to expedite in the process, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can obviously do a super chat, and that will move it to the front of the line, or you can hop on the link that's in the chat, and you'll be able to actually join the show, and you'll get your questions prioritized as well because you've chosen to join the show and hang out on the air. So always a good time. Let's see here. If you don't know, we do have a Discord server now. So we had one before and basically rebuilt it from the ground up. But if you go to the link that is on the bottom of the screen, johngood.com/discord, then you'll be able to join the Discord server, which again, that is where a lot of other resources, things like feedback requests, all those kind of things. It's all on the Discord server, so you can check it out, do the onboarding steps, get all onboarded, and you'll be able to see different channels and stuff that are on there and join the discussion. So there's a lot of other things that we're going to be doing on there as well that will not be elsewhere. So it is definitely an incentive to join the Discord server. And then I'll also put this up here because it's another good resource. So startcybercareer.com. Again, startcybercareer.com. That'll take you to some resources that I've laid out that will help you start your career. So if you're trying to kick off your career, if and maybe this is the first job you're going to have, if you're trying to join cybersecurity from IT or another career field, great resource to have as well. Again, there's a whole bunch of resources that I've laid out on there that will help you as far as what you should learn, what you should pursue for certification skills, things like that. Then definitely check that out as well. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Let's go and hide that. And all right. Let's do this. All right, so start going through some of the more of these questions. All right, so would you recommend going to tech support as an entry-level job before pursuing SOC analyst career? I don't want to get into fixing hardware though. Thank you in advance. I love your videos. Thanks, baby boss. Glad you're enjoying the videos. Glad you're enjoying the content. Always great to hear that feedback, and great to see. So here's the thing with jobs, right? There's a lot of different jobs that will provide you benefit and that could be useful, at least in one way or another. So there's certain tasks you might do, certain exposure you might get, experience, technologies, whatever. Okay, so that is the general kind of answer as far as all these different jobs that are out there. You have tech support, you have help desk, you have system admin, network engineer, systems engineer, whatever. All these different jobs that exist. You can pick pieces that will assist you or help you in your development towards getting into cybersecurity and being successful in cybersecurity in general. Okay. Now, the job game is kind of a weird thing. A lot of people will say they will speak in terms of like absolutes. So if I'm starting my career and I say I'm going to start in a help desk job and then an IT administrator job, then I'm going to be a network engineer, then I'm going to go into cybersecurity, or I'm going to start in cybersecurity and that's the way that I'm going to go. So I speak in these absolute kind of terms. The problem with that is that, for one, you don't know that that's how your job or your career path is going to play out. You don't know that that is the job opportunity that's going to present itself. You don't know that that's the best job opportunity that's going to present itself. Nobody does. I don't know the best one that's going to present itself to you. You don't know the best one that's going to present itself to you. So think about that, right? As you are going through this process and you're starting to apply to jobs, just talking about the job application process, I always tell people to apply to all the entry level help desk jobs, IT support jobs, IT jobs, cybersecurity jobs, all of those things. And Dara, thank you for the super chat, and I will definitely answer your question next. So you have all those different jobs that exist that you should apply to, and you should basically see what happens. Your career is not going to be the straight path. Guarantee it. Nobody's is. We have all these different twists and turns that happen because different opportunities present themselves. Maybe you apply to a help desk job and you get rejected. Then you apply to a cybersecurity job and you get the job. Maybe you apply to a cybersecurity job, you get rejected. You apply to a help desk job and you get the job. You have all these different possibilities because it basically means that you're trying to find the job that in the company that has a certain requirement that meets what you currently have and your abilities, and you're trying to get that best match and the best position possible for that opportunity. Doesn't matter what that job is ultimately, because it's about taking that job that you found and then figuring out how to pivot to that next role. Okay, you get a help desk job. What am I missing, or what do I need to get to that next role that I want? If I want a cybersecurity job, okay, what do I need to do to get to that next job? What skills or knowledge do I need to acquire, or experience do I need to acquire to make myself more valuable to that role? And then you apply to jobs again. And it's the same thing. You're trying to apply to jobs and hope that whatever they're looking for is matching what you bring to the table enough so that you can get that job. So it's not about speaking absolutes and saying, I'm going to go for this help desk job. I'm going to limit myself to this specific role, and that's all I'm going to focus on. I want you to be very broad and really cast a wide net and take what opportunity comes your way, whatever door opens, and then figure out how to go from there to that next role. That is the most important thing. That is much more important than kind of focusing on this dream job or this dream situation, especially at first. That's when you really don't want to do it. You want to have as many opportunities as possible. So be broad with your skill set, be broad with your knowledge. But again, take the opportunities as they come to you and figure out how to pivot. People that can pivot the best, those are the ones that are going to have the best career opportunities. They're going to have the most trajectory, the most potential, because they understand that it's not about that current job. It's about, how do I build the bridge from this current job to the future job or that next job? How do I connect the dots between those two things? That is the most important thing for sure, because you're probably going to have jobs that you don't enjoy, probably going to have jobs that you wish you had a different job or a better job or something like that. It happens, right? We all get into different jobs and stuff that we don't like, or we wanted a different job or something. Maybe we had to take a certain job, doesn't matter. So that's the biggest thing. If you happen to end up in a help desk job or an entry-level tech support job or something like that, that's okay. Again, just figure out how you can go from here to here, right? How do we build that bridge between the two? What are the skills and the knowledge that you need? Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if you have follow-up questions to that in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. But that's really what you need to think of in terms of that. Don't speak in absolutes. Deal with the punches as they come, as they say, right? And you'll have a lot better opportunities and better outcomes by being able to do that. The people that wait around forever for that dream job, lots of times, like more than not, very high probability, very high percentage of the time, the people that just fixate on certain jobs or certain roles, especially as an entry level person, you're probably going to be disappointed. You're probably going to learn that it's not the best idea to specifically focus on a certain area. See what happens. Apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. It doesn't hurt to get a rejection email. Maybe a little bit, like intrinsically, right? But yeah, go for it. All right. And baby boss, I saw you had a follow-up question too, so I'll go back to that here in a second. But want to answer the question for the super chat from Dara Does Design. Super chat for $10. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Any support you can give to the channel. Obviously, super chats are optional, but appreciate all the support. Appreciate everybody that subscribes and likes the video, shares the videos, signs up for training, right? All that stuff. So thank you. Hi, John. I'm a senior UX designer trying to pivot into cloud security engineering and looking at how design thinking and secure design can intersect. Do you know of any resources or people I should check? Let's see here. Okay, so UX designer trying to get into cloud security engineering. So let's kind of break this down. So cloud in general is kind of it's a separate area from like normal IT systems administration in a lot of cases, on-premise kind of things. So let's think of it in that kind of way. We have like on-premise, which is the traditional. I'm going to build a data center. I'm going to have people on staff that are in the building. They're focused on securing those servers or whatever the case is. Then we have cloud, and cloud is everything in the cloud, right? Websites, web applications, things like that. AWS, Azure, whatever, right? One of the things we're seeing, especially currently with cloud, is that cloud and cloud security tend to go together. Okay, so you aren't really going to have one without the other. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to need to understand cloud at its foundational level. You're going to need to understand what cloud is, how that differs from on-premise kind of solutions, how you secure those workloads. In a lot of ways, cloud and on-premise are similar. There's a lot of similarities, but it's definitely more kind of code-based, automation-based, things like that. But if you want to work in cloud at all, you've got to understand that foundational kind of stuff. Just like if you were going to work on-premise, you would want to understand the foundational on-premise kind of things. So things like maybe how network switches work, how network routers work. Once you start going to the cloud, those don't become, they're still networking things, but those traditional appliances are not really a thing in the cloud in a lot of cases. So it kind of shifts that purpose. So you've got to understand how the cloud works first. And then you want to understand, obviously, how to secure it. What are the tools and technologies that exist on how to secure that? UX designer, I mean, I would probably have more questions as far as like what you're trying to accomplish exactly, like where you're trying to go with that. Because in a lot of ways, if you're dealing with code, let's say, or applications themselves, kind of in that code realm, I would think that you would lean towards either more of a application security kind of background or an application security kind of role where you're actually looking at the code, how that's interacting with the interfaces and things like that. What users are doing in those applications, how they can break those applications, how they can use those applications to get undesired results or unexpected results, which then also kind of leads down the pen testing route. It's definitely going to be related. Application security and pen testing are frequently related, interrelated kind of areas as far as job functions. So if that's kind of the path that you're thinking, again, they're kind of two different areas. even though they are interrelated. So if you're thinking more of like application security, testing, like that kind of aspect in an internal kind of basis, you'd really want to get good with code and development and that side of things. If you're looking at more pen testing, then you're going to start looking at how that application interacts with the back end. You know, how does it interact with databases? How does it interact with whatever wherever the data is stored? How does it interact with the infrastructure on the back end? Learning those interconnections, and that would definitely that would dive you deeper into the probably the cloud security aspect of things. But again, like cloud security in itself is definitely defensive in nature. Pen testing is more offensive in nature. So I guess that's another relevant question for you to think about too, is do you want to work in more of that offensive side of things? Or do you want to work on taking maybe some of those findings that a pen tester might give you and figuring out how to secure that on the back end? What are things that you need to implement? A lot of times when we look at those two different kinds of roles, thinking defensive and offensive, offensive a lot of times is trying to assess the current state of an application or a current system. So what are the findings that I currently find? Not necessarily the future state or maybe sometimes the fixes that go along with that at a procedural level, process level, some of those more larger scale kind of things. We're talking about defensive in nature. We're talking about being proactive, thinking about the things that I can implement, not only to fix those issues, but also, okay, this new process exists, new application exists, this new design exists. And what are the implications of that being vulnerable? What kind of data does this deal with? What kind of components does this deal with? Infrastructure, the cloud environments. What do the permissions look like that are associated to the application, or how does it deal with the backend? These are all kind of questions that you have to think about that will help guide your kind of your thought process. Let's see here, and I see you have some follow-up comments, so let's bring those in, and maybe that can help us kind of go down that path too. Looking at how design thinking can be leveraged to design more secure systems. Interested in defensive roles, designing and building secure systems. Yeah, so I mean, that's definitely the cloud security kind of aspect of it. So really, you know, understanding how all those components work together. So like if you're designing an application right now, you're doing some UX for a specific application, think about kind of those things that I was talking about, right? So what does this design or what does this application deal with in general? What is the purpose of this application? Okay, so a user inputs data into this application. It then interacts with a database where that database stores the information. Okay, so what kind of permissions does that application need to interact with that database? What are the implications of those permissions on the back end? So could theoretically somebody do more than they're supposed to? It'll start to bleed into a little bit of the red teaming, penetration testing kind of things, just because inherently a lot of cybersecurity does kind of interrelate. But so how does it interact with that stuff? Okay, let's take it a step further. Is that database designed with best practices in mind? Designed, right? Is it architected in the correct way? Is it built in a way that AWS or whoever developed the database, what they recommend for secure practices? If it's not, well, then you have some homework to do as far as how to improve that security. Okay, it's not just the database. Maybe we're talking about the logs, the audit logs, the security logs that are associated to all these events that are happening in that database. Where do I send those logs? What are the implications of storing those logs? How long do I need those logs? Are there compliance requirements that are associated to that? You can see this is just going to spiral, right? Like it is a rabbit hole, and this is like a lot of cybersecurity things. Because I'm just spitballing things here, right? But a lot of cybersecurity things work like this. It's like you pull one thread, and then there's all this other stuff. You move this curtain, and then all of a sudden it's like a car engine, right? You know that car engine is in there, and you know that car engine's in there, but the hood's down, right? So we don't really see it. We don't see the back end. Now we put up the hood. Whoa, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We have electrical, we have the transmission, solar panels. I don't know, whatever kind of car you have, but that's how it works. So you're just going to go down this rabbit hole, and maybe that's just a really good way for you to kind of build up constant exposure. Is just start breaking things down. Just start breaking each piece of applications that you're familiar with down and saying, okay, I don't know about this piece or how to secure this. Let me understand how that works, how to secure it. This also interacts with this piece. Let me understand how to secure that. Right? So there's all these different things that that you just keep peeling back the layers with. It's a it's a fun career field, but like it gets intense as you start to peel back those layers. It's like I was saying with the car, it's like it's simple, then you get into the engine, and it's like, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff going on here, right? So I hope that helps. Definitely, feel free to comment and stuff. But yeah, again, it's just a lot of just kind of diving into it and taking it piece by piece. All right, let's see here. I think we got a resume here. Okay, let's see here. Let me proof it first. Not reading the specifics. I just want to make sure that, what I'm going to put up here isn't something that I shouldn't be putting up here. Okay. All right, let's see here. Screens are all crazy because they're different resolutions. Okay, hold on. Hold on a second. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's do this and make this full screen. Okay, let's see here. Let me share my screen. All right, hopefully this works. We'll use the built-in stuff here. All right, let me hold on. Hold on. See, I have to rearrange so many windows here to get this correct. Okay. All right, so you should be seeing this on the screen here. So this is a resume that was submitted. Again, if you go to the Discord server, there is a section where you submit your resumes. We go for about an hour, so we have another 15 or so minutes. But I will be doing this for the other shows as well. So keep that in mind if you want to submit your resume. You can just black it out. It's you can make it as anonymous as you want, but there's a process to submit the resumes. So I'm just going to rattle off things that I see here, and that way Sam will have a history or things that you can work on and you can improve for your resume, and hopefully this helps. So first of all, starting out, and again, I'm just going to go through this as I see the things. Starting out, I would not put this color on here. Having a color like that is just, it's asking for issues, whether somebody's colorblind or it's not good to do, right? Because then somebody has to have color to print it. If they don't have color, maybe it turns out weird. If they're actually printing it, whatever, right? Don't put the color up here, not standard, not recommended. So as far as header, I would not put, that's weird how it does that. So I would not put this title in here, this graduate consultant. Don't include that in the header section. Header section is typically going to be your name, maybe your location, maybe phone number, something like email address, and maybe if you have like a LinkedIn, GitHub, things like that, you'd have a couple of those items in there. And again, I'll make sure you go back and check the video that I did on resumes, because you'll be able to see much more specifically kind of like what that looks like exactly. But I'm guessing this is probably email, probably address, because you have like Brisbane in here. So we're going to assume that you have that in there. I always put this in the header section. So if you use a header section that's built into your word processing software, then that's where you want to put it. That way it's at the top of every page of your resume. And then also too, just looking at this, I'm going to guess this block that is kind of colored, this probably takes up a lot of space. So I don't know if I would try to be very careful with how much space I'm using for the header section, especially because you have like extra spaces in here, and yeah, so be very cautious with how much space you use for that. Let's see here. Okay, so let's keep going here. So format wise, again, this is not the standard format. This is not kind of the expected format that people have. The problem when you get away from the standard format is not only are people trained to read it in a certain way, so that's a huge issue, right? If you start changing up how things are in there, and I'm just making sure that that on the replay that the screen is showing. But the problem is when you get away from that standard format, people have issues reading it. The ATS systems can have issues processing it. There's all kinds of just issues with that. Stick to the standard traditional kind of format. Don't get into this like blocky columns for certain things. It's very, very dangerous to do that. So stay away from that. Let's see, professional summary, graduate consultant with a background in both GRC and penetration testing. I perform vulnerability assessments, web application network penetration tests, maturity assessments, and security audits for multiple private and public sector clients, actively seeking an entry-level penetration testing position that will allow me to further develop my technical skills while pursuing my passion for penetration testing in a dynamic and engaging environment. So it's definitely a good start as far as your professional summary. Typically what I tell people is professional summary needs to say where you've been, where you are, where you're going, right? 3 to 4 sentences at most, and you're really just trying to very simply summarize those kind of things, where you've been, where you are, where you're going. Okay, it's an elevator pitch, as I call it, but it just needs to be very concise. You don't want to have a lot of lengthy things in there. I think that you can. I think you can beef this up a little bit. I do like how you're talking about things like vulnerability assessments, web application pen tests, maturity assessments, right? Like that's all good stuff. It's all relevant stuff. and it's gonna come in handy, right? Like it's just gonna be relevant for this kind of position. Um, let's see here. But I think that one of the challenges is it's pretty generic, and I think that is what's going to help you stand out is if you can take that from so generic of a stance or so generic of a statement and try to make it even a little bit more specific. Like, did you work with major organizations, right? Like Fortune 50 organizations? What is something a little bit more specific about what you've done than just at a very generic level? Now, the purpose of this summary also, as well, is that you're trying to get people interested enough to keep reading. So I think you're close. I think you're on the verge of having a good section here. I don't like the two paragraphs. Two paragraphs, no, that's not good, right? Avoid that for sure because that's going to take up extra white space just by having a space in here. But again, 4 sentences max, maximum value. Try to stay away from things like like words like I. That's generally frowned upon in resumes. It's too informal. It's not the correct way that it should be written. But again, I think you're so close in that professional summary section, and I like that you have that in there. But I think you just need to beef it up and make it more specific. Let's see. Yep, education and certifications. So I'm reading it in the way that I would read this through, and the way that that people would read it through as they're reviewing it. Okay, so that's why I'm continuing down this column. Education and certifications. Let's see here. University. Okay, so you had the university section. Bachelor of Information Technology, Computer Science. I might even say like information technology specialization in computer science or specializing in computer science. I don't know how, I'm not sure if I love the parentheses with computer science. And this is just maybe more of a nitpicky thing. The current, I don't understand what that means. I'm guessing that means you're currently pursuing that. If that's the case, you need to put a start date and to present or to current. So it's understood that you started it at this point and that you're ending at this point. That gives people context of how long you've been doing the degree for. Ideally, right? Ideally, we want that to be like 4 or 5 years because that tracks a normal progression for a degree program. Even like 6 years isn't going to be crazy. Obviously, if you get to 10 years of a gap or something like that, that's like super long, which I don't even know if that would be allowed, right? I think typically they make you like restart or get other things if you take that long. But you need to have that start year and to current or to present, and then you change that to the end year when you actually get it. Let's see here. And then if you do have like a weird gap like that, you could even end up, once you finish the degree, having just that graduation year. Something you could put, but the traditional kind of expected is going to be start date, end date. Let's see, TCM security in progress. I mean, currently pursuing is probably the more accepted verbiage for that, but in progress is okay too. Practical junior penetration tester. They're probably again going to want to see start date and end date. I don't group certifications and education together. Those are two different things. Especially if you have experience, you shouldn't be grouping those together. You should be grouping those separately. And typically, what happens is if you have education and you have experience, your education will go after your experience. I tend to front load my certifications because they're easy wins as far as somebody reviewing that. So they can see, oh, you have whatever certification, or oh, you're currently pursuing this certification, right? So those are good things to do. You have your diploma of business. So again, that's going to be an education thing. So that needs to be grouped with the other education. It gets weird when you start mixing in certifications in there because that's not the same thing. They're not reviewed the same way. They're not considered the same thing. So if you have any diplomas, degrees, anything like that, that's a section. Certifications, unless it's a certification from that university, and even then, I probably wouldn't put it in there. I would separate it out because again, degrees, diplomas, they're viewed differently than certifications, certificates, and you don't want to confuse people in your resume. Confusing people is a bad idea. All right, career history. I would call this experience. Again, when we talk about like expected verbiage and things like that, use what's expected. Be very careful about going off and doing things or labeling things that are not a traditional or conventional kind of way. It's going to throw people off, and it's probably going to cause more issues for you than you need. I would also, the other thing is stay away from using like different, and this goes back to the beginning, right? Stay away from using colors like this. Just stay away from it. Use bold, use underline, use the very basic kind of formatting. Because once you start using colors, it starts getting no bueno, right? Like no good. But okay, career history, graduate consultant. I'm guessing this blacked out part is your company name. Typically, what I would tell you as far as a formatting of experience, the top line should be your employer, so the employer name, and it should be your tenure there. So right here, February 2024 to current. Okay, great. That's good. I would not abbreviate February. That's too informal. Spell out February. But otherwise, 2024 to current. That's good. Because usually it's going to be month and year or year and year. That's also accepted. Kind of just depends on what it looks like and how long you were there. But so instead of graduate consultant, it'd be the employer name, and it would be the year, month, year, tenure, right? When you were there. And then below that, the second line, that's going to be the actual job title that you had. That will also allow you to add multiple jobs within a company. The way you currently have it, you're not really going to have an easy way to do that, just from a practicality standpoint of how you're going to format that. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this. Perform internal, external network tests, such as database testing and testing of perimeter firewalls. Sector clients, led field work and multiple cybersecurity assessments, such as maturity assessments and whatever that is, security reviews. Let's see here. Okay, and then there's different jobs. Okay, so this first job, very generic, right? And I'm just gonna say like these things how they are, right? So this will help you instead of trying to like sugarcoat it and say like, oh, this is great, and whatever. Like I'm just gonna say it how it is. This is how I coach too. So I see no point, right, in us kind of beating around the bush. Let's just say it how it is, so you get the direct information. This is super generic, right? We need to see more specifics about what you did, because anybody in a similar kind of job, if they keep it generic like this, they're going to have like the exact same thing. So how does an employer pick you over them? That's why we want to be specific with what we're putting in there, what we're providing. So it's a good start, right? Like you did these things. These are very valuable things to become a penetration tester or to get a penetration testing job. But we need to see more specifics. We need to see the scope of what you did. So how many systems, how many databases, what was complexity of it? Was there a dollar value associated to that? What kind of technologies did you deal with? All these things are going to be relevant pieces of information that help give context to the reader about what you did. Now, one thing that I'm also noticing here is there's 3 bullets, right? So 3 bullets, then you go to the next job. So my general recommendation here, especially in your current job, you should have 4 to 6 bullets. 4 to 6 bullets across any job that you put on your resume. Typically, as you get towards the end, like the least recent jobs, if you were starting to pull pieces off, that's where you would start. So your most current job, and I see you have 3 bullets across each one of these jobs. So at least you're consistent, but you should have the most bullets. If anyone is going to have, a different amount of bullets, the most current job should be the most amount of bullets. Now, the other thing that I'll tell you here too is you see all this white space on the right side of your resume. That's not what we want, right? Um, you're wasting a whole bunch of white space where you could do information. And I even say that because you went on to a second page, but you had all this white space. That's bad, right? We want to take advantage of as much white space or as much things on our resume as possible. So, with that being said, every bullet should be a single line on your resume. Right here, you have each bullet for this job, this graduate consultant job. Each bullet takes up, even if, like, let's say it just went across the white space, because that is a huge issue, having that much white space. But each of those bullets is 3 lines. 3 lines. It should be no more than 1 line. Anybody that has that tells you that you can have multi-line bullets on a technical resume or a technical career field resume is not helping you, right? Like, there are so many issues with having multiple lines in your resume. You're going to distract the reader. It's going to be too much information. It's almost certainly going to be too broad. It's not going to be concise enough, right? There's all kinds of issues. So every line, every bullet in your resume cannot be any more than 1 single line. It's going to be a challenge for a lot of people if they're watching this, but it's not good if it's multiple lines. There's so many issues with that. So keep it to 1 line. So that first job, make it more specific, right? Let's see here, and again, get away from the columns. Keep it, uniform. One section, one section, one section. And you'll see that in the video that I have as well. Assistant consultant GRC. Okay, we're not going to hammer on the formatting of that. I've already talked about that in the other job. Creation of multiple GRC assessment tools for common industry frameworks. Assistant in delivering maturity assessments and information security audits for retesting of previous penetration testing findings for clients. Again, pretty generic. What did you specifically do? What kind of impact did that have? The more metrics that you can put towards that, numbers, dollars, man hours, specific technologies, whatever, the more that you can do for that, the better. Information security officer, again, same thing with the formatting, so we're not going to cover that again. And same thing with the multiple lines here with the different experience bullets. Investigated security events and logs using AD and Splunk. Okay, that's good. List specific technologies. I love seeing that. That will help you for keyword systems or just understanding more specifically which technologies you used. AD, don't abbreviate. Stay away from abbreviations as much as possible for things like Active Directory. I would say Active Directory, and I might abbreviate that in parentheses. NIST CSF, if I was really short on space, I may abbreviate that. Something like NIST CSF, though, you want to say NIST Cybersecurity Framework, if you can, right? But you're going to find there's going to be things that you should not be abbreviating because it's just too informal. When you abbreviate things, it's just so informal. That's why we try to stay away from it, because we want to spell out things generally if we can. If it's an adopted abbreviation or acronym like IAM, I may have that abbreviated because it's very universally understood in the career field, IAM. If I have the space, though, I'm going to actually spell it out. AD, though, I would never abbreviate that because there's just too much room for being too vague with that. I would say Active Directory. And maybe this gets into very specific terms, right? You'll kind of learn these as you go, but I'm always very careful with abbreviations. I try to completely avoid them if I can. So let's see, conduct. Okay, so this is another thing here, and I see you did that in this other one too. So past tense, current tense, future tense, right? Always write things in the correct tense. So in this assistant consultant job, you created, you assisted, you performed. In the current job, this is your current job, and so I missed this as we're kind of going through reviewing this stuff, right? Perform, conduct, lead, right? Like I am currently doing these things. Past job, created, assisted, performed. This final job that you have on here, I investigated, I conducted, and don't say I, but right, but investigated, conducted, assisted. Past tense, past job. That's an easy way to get your resume thrown in the trash for sure. If people are like, this person isn't even writing it in the correct tense, right? So make sure that you have to make sure that is correct. For people that are going to nitpick your resume and be very cautious with who they let through the gates, these little things matter. The other thing is you don't have periods, I think, on any of your bullets. Yeah, none of your experience bullets have periods. So they need to be complete statements. Again, one line for each bullet, and end it with a period, right? But again, same thing, right? Kind of the story across your experience bullets is they need to be more complete, more descriptive of what your experience was, like your individual experience, what you specifically did. So you definitely, so far, that's probably going to be the one area we're going to have to beef it up and kind of work a little bit more at fine tuning those. How many pages do you have? Okay, just 2. Okay, so we'll fly through this last little piece and then we'll go back to me here. But key skills, penetration testing. Okay, so for skills, I do like having a skills section. I like having it at the very top. Again, you'll see that in the video. This is proficiencies, key skill areas, some phrase it however kind of you want, but in that sense, there's no need to elaborate on that. It's just taking up extra space. You should have elaborated on these specific skills in your job posting or in your job experience section. So typically what I'll do with these, and again, you'll see this on the video, but I will put this into like 3 columns within a skills section. And then I'll make sure all the columns are equal, but I would have things like penetration testing, vulnerability assessments, risk management, communication skills, project management, like those kind of things. Those high level skills. And then in my experience section, I'm going to dive deeper into what I actually mean for those key skills. So literally, and then I would mention specific technologies in the experience section too. I would not mention those generally in the skills section. So yeah, so basically all these paragraphs that are under these key skills, I would not put those in there. It's just extra words, especially how you have it. Nobody's going to read that. They're just going to, they're going to read that first part and they're going to stop there. Let's see here. Key projects and achievements. Assisted in the delivery and support of a whole of government report for the current security posture of Queensland agencies. Delivered an intra-firm presentation. Okay. If these are related to your jobs, you should have them for sure in your job experience section. It's okay to have a separate project section if you really want to highlight these. Totally cool with that. But you should essentially list it, if you're going to have a separate project section, list it like you would with your experience section, where you have like a this is the title of this project, and then maybe this is a little blurb about it or a couple bullets about it. Or you could just do it like one liner, maybe a link to a GitHub or something, or a link to a publication about it, or there's lots of different ways to do it. References available on request, you can eliminate that too. It's expected that you're going to have references if they want them, maybe a previous employer or something like that. So you don't have to call that out. So all in all, your resume really should be a page. The extra page almost entirely needs to either be summarized in other sections, condensed, or just removed, right? So you should definitely be down to a page with yours. All right, let's see here. Okay, so hopefully that helped. A lot of good information, a lot of feedback on resumes. That's why I always tell people, make sure you submit your resumes, submit them early, because if we have several resumes, then we'll just roll through them and we'll keep reviewing them, right? Full screen. And yeah, so a lot of great information. This is a great way to get feedback on your resume. I have done this for a long time. I do it on Cyber Training Pro too. So if after this, if you just want to have your resume reviewed, you don't want the feedback to be on YouTube, you can totally go on there and sign up for that as well. And then we'll just do it I'll give you comments and write them out and things like that. So you'll actually have that direct feedback for your resume. But hopefully that was helpful. I'm sure it was probably helpful for other people and not just for you, Sam. But hopefully that gives you a lot of good information, a lot of feedback, a lot of path forward on how to correct and make enhancements or improvements to your resume, right? Again, with my resume, I'm like over 90% feedback because I've learned these things just over time and through experimentation and talking to hiring managers, going through the process, and just a lot of experience, right? So we're shortcutting that for you if you get your resume reviewed. So let's see here. All right. So with that being said, we're just over the hour mark. So we're a little bit over the hour mark. And typically, again, we do this for about an hour. We do them every month. So definitely check back, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, all those YouTube things. Join the Discord server, right? I'll put the thing back up here so you can see that. Check that out, get all on board and everything like that. And you'll see the information as far as how you can submit your resume if you want to submit it next time. And again, we'll just do it on the air. You can always join the show. I'll always put the link in the chat so you can hop on here and we can talk as well. If you have questions, career advice, things you need, all that, you can always do it in the chat, super chats, all that stuff. We appreciate all the support. Really do. I love helping people. I love seeing everybody get value out of the content that I'm putting out and giving direct feedback, right? Like it's very difficult to get feedback in the first place. It's even more difficult to get good feedback, right? Like feedback that is actually actionable, that will help you from somebody who has been in your shoes, right? Somebody who's been in your shoes and then reached a high level success. So this is a way for me to give back to all of you, right? So I love seeing you successful. If you have success stories, definitely let me know. Or if anything that we talked about, if that helps you, let me know. Let other people know. Let's grow this community, right? Let's get more people here and let's help each other and succeed. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you have success in your career. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today for this stream. I want to thank you for joining. Again, this is May 14th, 2025. I'm John Good. And until next time, I'll see you later.